Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Well, you can see I have a very large kit in front of me right here, and it's a kit that we've been waiting for an awful long time. For about 3 years we first heard the announcement that this was coming out, but we finally got them in. This is the brand new 1/16 scale Panther G. It's an early version of the Panther G in 16 scale, like I said, with a complete full interior. So the engine compartment, fighting compartment, drivers and radio operators, front seats, the transmission, you name it, it is inside this kit right here. And I briefly opened it up just to take a look at, and there is so many parts inside this kit. It's incredible. 2,300 plus parts, in fact. But what I thought I would do today is, since a lot of people around the country and around the world don't always get a chance to see inside these kits, or if you're debating about whether or not you want to buy one of these kits online and get it shipped to you, but you want to see it first, what I thought I'd do is I'd open up this one right here. This is probably one I'm going to start building fairly soon. I'm not going to promise it's going to be right away. I've got a few other projects I've already started that I want to get to, but I love the Panther tank. It's a beautiful piece, and this would be a great one for it. So I will first show all the sprues inside the kit, which is, I'm not kidding, there's probably at least 50 or 60 sprues that we have to take pictures of. So we'll show all the sprues, and then I'll pull them all apart and kind of show them to you, talk a little bit about it, you know, like in 3D video type thing. So that way you get a little better idea of what the kit looks like. So let's get started. Okay, first of all, we're just going to take a look. The piece itself comes in a giant suitcase type box. So you've got a carrying handle, and then you open up the box, and inside you got a huge sheet of decals. You know, lots of different numbers and all the little ammunition markings, things like that inside. A very large instruction book. You can see the size here. Lots and lots of instruction pages, which for a 2,300 plus part kit you'd expect. Also, we have some color diagrams and some advertisement for the actual kit that's in here. So, and then inside of that, we've got these other individual boxes that are just chock full of parts. So what we'll do is we'll break down each one of them and show you what's inside each one of them. Okay, we're going to take a look at the sprues from box A first. And the very first sprue we have out has kind of an assortment of parts in it. We have some of our tools, including the wire cutters here, shovels. This is the wiring for the light. And then we've got some of the pry bars, things like that. This is the canister that holds some of the cleaning kit, as well as the big front fenders on this, this massive kit. And as we go through, you'll just start to see what I'm talking about by the number of sprues. This is some of the engine parts right here that make up the radiators. And you get two identical pieces of this. So that'll obviously make up the left and right radiator. And then we have this big one right here. This is some of the transmission parts that you can see in through here. And this is probably the main housing right here for the transmission. Nice big pieces on that. And here we are. Here is our giant firewall for the inside, as well as the fuel tanks for the back of the vehicle. Just amazing how big. Now this next piece, move some of the stuff here, is the mantlets. And I say mantlets because they're giving you two different ones in here. And the very first one you'll see, this is the one from the early. This is for a later vehicle. This has the shot trap on it. If you guys are not familiar with that, the earlier ones, when a shell was coming in, Allied gunners start to realize if you hit right about here, the round will ricochet down and go into the driver's compartment or the radio operator's compartment, where the armor is very thin on top. So the Germans started, as later variants came out, putting this piece right here that would just absorb the hit rather than you know, make the shot trap go down in that. Little design flaw they didn't catch right off the gate. And we've got some of the other big pieces. This is more of the tops of the radiators now, and some of the accessories like the tow cables. Show you those right there. And then the radiator covers. the tow hooks here. Lots of big parts. And you get 2 sprues of this as well. And this is a little tiny one. This is mainly just the ammo containers for the inside MG machine gun, as well as some of the other parts that will make up the internal parts of the kit. And we've got 2 more sprues again. This one is the seat. Show you some of the detail that they put some of the springs. This is the top of the battery compartment. More of the, and actually the rest of the seats right here. And the radios. And it looks like a stowage box right up in the corner here as well. So you get 2 of those. And also these are the parts that make up the drive sprocket. Or excuse me, these are the parts for the idler, not the drive sprocket, for the idler. And 4 parts that make that up. Once again, you're going to get 2, 1 for each side. And the last thing I want to show you on, or actually not the last thing, one of the last things, are these so ridiculously large torsion bars that are inside this kit. This is incredible. And just to give you a kind of a close-up on it, next to a hand, you can see that they're fairly large pieces there. Another large sprue is the main components that make up the engine. So you have the engine block right here, some of the front and back, some of the accessories that'll go on the engine. You see some nice detail in there. And these are going to make up the side firewalls that'll separate, that'll go around the engine compartment basically. And one other thing I want to show you guys is, now I haven't gotten to the tracks yet, but this is the sprue, actually quite a few. I think there's like 16 of these in there. You have all of the individual guide horns, and the Panther, it did have a hollow horn, so they molded it this way so you get that nice detail. But this is what I was kind of interested in. It looks like that those are the actual track pins that you will be able to cut out and put in. So the track will be fully articulated once you get it in. As long as you don't glue it in, you just push it into place, it should be able to flex and stuff. So that'll actually make the tracks going a little bit easier. This is a little bit of a fun time, we'll call it, putting all those guide horns on, but it will give you the proper hollow horn. Okay, now we're going to crack into box B, and the very first sprue we have out of there is the actual main gun. Little disappointed that they didn't give us a metal barrel for the long tube part, because that's a long seam you have to fill. We also have a couple of different muzzle brakes, as well as some of the parts for the turret ring, and it looks like the turret basket floor as well right there. And we'll move on to, this is more engine parts and some of the detail that you can see inside some of this stuff here. That's one thing I'm really kind of excited about doing the kit eventually, is to do the engine. I want to build up the engine as a nice big separate, beautiful display piece to put it as a display rather than in the vehicle that's going to get sealed up. This is all of the plumbing that goes into the kit. And one thing I have to point out, it's very nice, is Trumpeter packs all of these fragile parts in a nice bubble wrap. So you're pretty sure to get a, a nice intact sprue, so to speak. Then over here we have, this is the channel that runs around the bottom floor. This holds all of, like a conduit, it holds all the electronics that go from the engine wiring and things like that. Plus we have all the other little tiny accessory parts on there. And then this big sprue right here is just odds and ends, looks like. And here we are. Here we've got some big parts. Here's the top of the engine compartment. And we have our parts of our side skirt right here. And this is the hatch area for the driver and radio operator, more of the hatch, and half of the glasses plate for the front. And the reason I say half is because it's made up as a sandwich that you're going to glue two of them together, and you'll be able to mount the machine gun. It's just like what they did with the TACOM kit, with the 35th scale one. And then we'll move on to this piece right here. We've got some of the parts for the internal. This is part off of the gun. And then, of course, we have part of the mantlet up here. I guess that would be part of I know the front part is the mantlet, but I think this is the back of the mantlet, we'll call it. And all the little detail parts, kind of just give you a quick brief look of them. And like I was telling you, this is box B. So on this we have multiple sprues of this, and this is obviously our drive sprocket and the other half of the torsion bar, because the way the Panther works is the torsion bar comes in, locks in on this side, so this transfers some of the energy off of the one bar, being such a heavy vehicle. And we got two of those, and now we've got here's the rear turret baskets. This is part of the floor where the actual turret basket goes into. You've got our part of the final drive right here, and the rear firewall for the engine. You can see how big that piece is right there compared to a hand. And our jack, pieces like that. And then this piece right here, if you guys saw me build the 35th scale one, you know what this stuff is. This is the bracing along the bottom of the floor. And these are all the braces that will hold up the floor. And this is where the torsion bars go through on each one of those. And the final big sprues that we have in this kit, or in this box I should say, are the all the road wheels. And you get two of these sprues, obviously, because there's quite a few road wheels on a Panther, with the concave and convex ones, and there's some nice detail on all that. Really, take a really close look at those bolt heads. You can actually see the whole thing. I think with a little weathering on them, those will really stick out. Okay, now let's move on to box C. Okay, now we're going to look at box C, and the very first thing I want to point out to you, there is a turned aluminum barrel in there. I didn't notice it because it wasn't in box A, but it is in C. So it is a two-part barrel, as you can see right here. So a little super glue on that. But I'm very pleased that they put this in there, because this is going to save a lot of time not having to sand out that ridiculously long seam that will be inside of this. Now we're going to take a look at the upper and lower hull. So we have the lower hull right here. You can see how it's done up. It's made with some pretty thick plastic too, to give it some rigidity, because this thing is going to be carrying quite a bit of weight, especially with all the internal parts inside there. So you can see that it's pretty easy or pretty basic and straightforward. And then we have our upper hull, and it too has some of the little marks on the side for, you know, lining up like the barrel cleaner, the tool racks, things like that. And then some of the other parts we have are these. These are the ammo stowage bins that go inside the vehicle. Some of the racks as well in there. And speaking of ammo, we're going to take a look at these. There are, I think there's a total of there is a total of 4 of these right here, 8 sides of them, I should say. And so you get plenty of ammunition in there, and you get 2 different types, the high explosive as well as the armor piercing rounds. And they look to be pretty good. And plus, like we were showing you earlier, they have the decals for the back of the ammunition there. A little piece of flash. And then we've got just some of the other accessories. Here's like the piece that holds the idler wheel. I'm going to leave these in the pack, but this is your clear parts. This is the vision blocks and some of the other stuff for some of the lights. I just want to leave them in there. That way it keeps them protected so we don't scratch them as we go forward. We also have inside, these are all the ammunition racks for the side bins that are up above the on the sides of the sponson, basically. So all the ammunition will line up inside of that. You get a couple of those sprues. This one didn't pull out yet. This is the bottom of our turret, as well as also has the cupola molded in the middle there. And what part is that right there? I'm not sure. Looking at it right off, I'm not sure what that part is. But since we're talking about the turret, here it is. It's so cool to see this stuff in such large scale too. Very, very nicely done. And once again, you can see the size of the plastic. They've made it fairly thick to hold up to any wear and tear, especially putting all those parts on. And then we've got our copper cable. That's all real metal in there. And then I'm just going to briefly show you the photo etch that comes inside. I'm not going to open it because you can see it pretty clearly. So we have our star antenna. We also have some, looks like, the bottom of some of the bends. We've got two of these, one on each side, which is all of our screens for the back, as well as some of the side armor plate. And that's the other thing. They give you the side skirts made out of metal, too. So if you want to bend them up and beat them up a little bit, you can, right, like that. And the last thing we're going to look at in this monster kit is the tracks. And I'm just going to crack this open right here and show you. This is how the tracks are coming. Some nice detail on it. Now, like I showed you earlier, that's where your two guide horns are going to go inside of there. Looks like there's a little bit of cleanup. I'll put my hand right here so you can see it a little better. A little bit of cleanup on each one of the tracks, but they are hollow cast, so you'll be able to slide the pin right through them, and then we should be able to get them to work once we get it all together. So that is all of the parts. One other thing I forgot to point out is the actual rubber for the road wheels is all actual real rubber and a separate piece, so you'll be able to paint the actual road wheel and pop this into place. So there you go, guys. There is a look inside this brand new 16 scale Trumpeter Panther kit. It should be a lot of fun if you decide to take it on. The retail on this kit is $400 in the United States. Obviously that price will vary around the world, but $400 is the retail. They're going to obviously be available for a lot less than that, but it looks pretty nice inside, I have to say, and it's a lot of work with 2,300 parts, but man, what a beautiful showpiece it'll be once it gets done. So I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have many more videos coming.